What's up guys and welcome to FPL Today. I'm your host JNO. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the new season of Fantasy Premier League. It has been released today. You're probably seeing this the day after it's been released, but I'm excited for some Fantasy Premier League videos on this channel and to play another season with a lot of you subscribers that have stayed with the channel for so long. And also welcome to anyone new seeing this video. If you do enjoy this content and you do love Fantasy Premier League, this is one of the channels to subscribe to. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you can get all my videos in your subscription box, and hopefully we can have the best season in Fantasy Premier League yet. So we are going to start this season off with fixtures and rotation as our first topic for all the content that we're going to be creating during pre-season. And the fixture list came out a while ago, but the game has now been dropped. We're going to go over fixtures and rotation. Some stuff you guys that have been on the channel for a while will already know, and some of you it will be new to you, but let's get into rotation and fixtures. Now naturally in Fantasy Premier League we want to make the most of our money to get the most amount of points as possible, and one of the ways of doing that is rotation strategy. This strategy applies mainly to squad based games, so if you only have 11 in your team it won't apply to the game that you're playing, but if you do have a bench, this is where rotation comes into play. And of course, as we mainly focus on the Fantasy Premier League on this channel, then rotation is a big part of the game. The main premise of it is you take cheap players and rotate them to either take advantage of home fixtures or to take advantage of fixture ease. Mainly this is done with goalkeepers and defenders because they are the cheapest players in the game, but this can also be done with two cheap midfielders or a cheap midfielder and a cheap striker. However, it's a bit more difficult to do that with midfielders and strikers because you have to take into account form instead of the likelihood of a team getting a clean sheet. And of course the benefit of this is you're saving money in goalkeeper and defence position, and it allows you to spend more money in midfield and attack where a good majority of the points are going to come from. Now whether they come from midfield or attack is another topic that we'll get onto as we lead up to the beginning of the Fantasy Premier League season, but that is for a later date. So we go into some history to tell you why this can be such an important part of the Fantasy Premier League game. Clean sheets at home has been a higher percentage, at around 20% higher than clean sheets away. Generally you're hitting around the 60% mark for clean sheets at home and the 40% mark for clean sheets away. For the last two seasons it's gone over 60%, which means it's been under 40% for the away games. And if the trend continues, we could see these home clean sheets continue to rise compared to the away ones. Now of course there are exceptions to the rule. Only Tottenham got 10 plus clean sheets at home last season, and outside of the top 6, home advantage wasn't as prominent a factor as it was with the top 6. Out of all the teams outside of the top 6, only really Newcastle and Huddersfield matched the general trend of getting a lot more clean sheets and being defensively solid at home than they were away. Now we look at the ways that you can rotate, and the main one is to look at home fixtures because of all the stats that I've already given you. Now in a Premier League season there will be teams that match perfectly for home and away games during a Premier League season all the way up to game week 38, either because of geography or just because of the way the fixture list has been done. This season there is a list of 8 pairs of perfect home rotation teams that we can look at, and as you can see on the graphic, the ones in bold are the ones that I think are best used in rotation strategy, because when you get bigger players in bigger sides you generally don't want to be putting them on the bench. So we can kind of ignore Chelsea and Fulham, Everton and Liverpool, and Man City and Man United. That gives us 5 perfect home rotation pairs that actually will allow us to get cheaper budget options into our side. We're starting off with Bournemouth and Crystal Palace. Not two sides that necessarily are very strong in defence, but if you are looking for attacking options that you could rotate, there is potential there. Patrick Van Aanholt as a defender for Crystal Palace, and any of the Bournemouth defenders could potentially get attacking returns, so that could be a decent strategy to take up. Brighton and Newcastle. Newcastle of course look very good defensively under Rafa Benitez, and Brighton can get clean sheets. Matthew Ryan was decent in goal for them last season, so that is another pair that is definitely worth having a look at. And then Burnley Huddersfield is another one. Burnley's defence, although they didn't get that many clean sheets last season, did look pretty solid, so that could be another pairing you look at. Leicester versus Wolves. Wolves coming up off of great form and bringing in a lot of good players. That could be a decent strategy for you to take with Leicester and Wolves. And then you've got Southampton and West Ham. This is probably the ones out of the cheaper options that I'm least interested in, although Lucas Fabianski going to West Ham could be a great shout for a goalkeeper, because Fabianski was great for Swansea for a couple of seasons. If he can do the same at West Ham, we could be looking at a very cheap goalkeeper that can get the job done. And then finally, you can just look at Fixture Ease to pick your players as well. This can also be used with the more premium price players, where you try and get the players in when they could potentially have a good run of form against some weaker opponents. On the graphic, you can see that I've done 10 weeks and the next graphic will be 4 weeks, so you can play some at a shorter strategy game and some for a longer term, depending on when you want to play your wildcard and how many times you are planning to make transfers, if you're trying to save them up and things like that. Of course, injuries will also come into play, which could destroy any plans you have, and also the international break, which can wreak havoc on your sides as well. But we're looking at Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal, Burnley, Man United and Wolves, potentially with the best fixtures going into the season, at least for the first 10. Bournemouth especially looks pretty tasty, with only really Chelsea being a major threat to that side, although defensively they don't have the best record. With Cardiff, Everton, Leicester, Crystal Palace and Southampton at home, with Fulham away, Watford away and West Ham away, they could be getting some FPL returns there. Crystal Palace also look like they've got a good run. Liverpool and Arsenal are in their fixtures, however, both are home games. And then you've got the likes of Fulham, Watford, Southampton, Huddersfield, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Wolves and Everton. And then the big teams with 10 good looking fixtures are Arsenal and Man United. So you could potentially look to take advantage of some of the players from there. And then if we look at a bit shorter term, if we look at the next 4 game weeks from the start of the season, we can see that the big clubs that have good fixtures change to Liverpool and Manchester City. And then you've got Everton with probably the best first 4 fixtures with Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth and Huddersfield. And then you've got Bournemouth, Burnley, Cardiff and Crystal Palace also looking very favourable for the first 4 fixtures. Anyway guys, that is it for today's video. Hopefully this has been insightful for you and will help you build your FPL sides. I'm hoping to go live very soon. If you follow me on Twitter, I do announce in the morning when I am going to go live in the evening, so make sure to follow me there. Also make sure to hit that notification bell so you know when we're going live. I'm hoping the first live stream will be me trying to pick my first side with you guys, and hopefully we can have a great FPL season. Also check out all the links in the description down below if you want to support the channel in any way. I've been JNO, this has been FPL Today, and remember, it's all about the game.